Hello and welcome to Fats on Film. I am your host, Hannah Ogilvie Young, and this is the podcast where we discuss all things fat representation in film, TV, and wider media. And this week it is our 50th episode, 50 episodes, and I wanted just to take a beat and answer some questions that you guys had for me. Before we get into all that, I'm gonna level with you, team. Like, this podcast means a lot to me, but I find it difficult. I am not a trained. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Like, I've never learned anything about recording before. The social media stuff I do on the fly. I don't. I've done a little bit of writing. I've never really interviewed people, and then all of a sudden, I had this idea to talk about fat representation in a podcast, and here I am. And it's taken like 2 years to get to 50 episodes because I take long breaks because I find it overwhelming to do this on my own. To keep the energy up, to keep asking for guests and then to record and then edit and then think about social media, like, oh, I've got to make reels now. Like, I find it all really exhausting, which is a real shame because I love the content. I love the conversations I have with people. I love the conversations I have with listeners, with you guys about this topic. Fat representation in media is something so incredibly close to my heart, but I find this so hard, such hard work. And so I guess like my first point in this 50th episode as a celebration of this podcast is, if anyone wants to help me, immediately I'm like, if anyone wants to help me, I mean, I'm not going to turn down help. If anyone likes looking at videos, editing, that kind of stuff, just let me know. If anyone knows of anyone who would want to do a theme song for the podcast, let me know. These are things that like I'd love to do, and I just never have the energy to do them. One thing about me, right, is in my professional life, I'm quite an organized person. When it comes to things outside of like work, I am a flying at the seat of my pants kind of gal, and I'm like with my content. Like, one of my big things about my fashion content, and I see like my peers do, is like series is like, let me do 10 days of summer fits. I will have forgotten the whole 10-day series 3 days in. That is my problem. My brain is all over the place. So when it comes to the podcast, I'm really good in the moment. I'm really bad around it. And also, I think the other thing is, I don't know if anyone knows this, I don't speak about it very often at all, either on the podcast or on my social media, but like, I don't get paid for any of this. I do the social media stuff, I do the podcast completely off the side of my desk. I have a full-time job. Yeah, it's a lot for little old me. I'm just one brain. So I guess I feel like I've just made loads of excuses, because, like, you know what? I have made loads of excuses because I'm embarrassed. I am embarrassed that this is something I know that I love to do in my heart, but I find it really hard to do. And so I take these like long unintentional breaks, which I know is the worst thing I could be doing for podcast growth, but it's because I just don't have the energy. And I'm just being real with you. Like, again, social media gives off this idea that life is perfect and there's no struggle. I'm struggling. Like, I've been really struggling these past like 3 or 4 months with motivation. I feel like I've been in a rut. I feel like I've just been twiddling my thumbs. I feel like I've not seen any growth. Like, I just, it's been hard. And so I'm just leveling with you, because if you've also been finding it hard, it's probably not unrelated to the whole mass slimming down of the masses that we're watching and the rise of fat phobia. It's probably not unrelated to that. So it's just weighing heavy, and I guess I'm saying all that to say, like, I'm a human being. If you also feel this way, then at least there's company. You know what I mean? Anyway, so 50 episodes of Fats on Film. Let's talk about some mailbag questions now. Okay, so immediately I have failed on the mailbag front because I didn't note down anyone's names, because what happened was I asked for people's questions on my Instagram and then I screenshotted the answers, but it didn't for some, I don't know where in the screenshot I just didn't take people's names. So I really, really, really apologize for not having your name for these questions. That's my bad, and I will endeavor to do better next time. So the first question is, and it's such a simple question, why did I start Fats on Film? Kind of as I was alluding to earlier, like fat representation is something so close to my heart because I spent so much time of my life hating how I looked and getting to a place of body positivity, body neutrality, self-love. Oh, hello. And once I got to that place, when I started to reframe my beliefs of how I viewed myself, I started to really question where the root cause for that self-hatred came from. And time again, like the media is a really big proponent of that. And if you just watch any film, any show, reality show, whatever it is, there will be some horrendous fat phobia. I've been watching Drag Race again recently. Now, I love Drag Race, like fully, but the fat phobia in that show is next level. And that's a really, like, I'm on season 13 now, which is like 2021. That's only 4 years ago. And some of the jokes in there I'm going to use jokes with like inverted commas, not like are just straight up fat phobia. And it's really difficult to watch. And so, that's recent, but then going back to like when we were children, watching like, we've talked about the Goonies recently on the podcast with Carolina Howie, and there's massive amounts of fat phobia there. Obviously Matilda again, The Little Mermaid. We could go Beauty and the Beast. We've never spoken about Beauty and the Beast on this podcast. But like the character of LeFou, who is this like fat, dumpy, stupid character, like all of this poor representation of fat people as we were children has absolutely taken root in our brains. And then obviously it doesn't stop as we've like kind of matured with our media choices either. Like it continues all throughout all types of media. It's so prevalent. And I was seeing other podcasts where, they talk about representation of different like intersections, like for example, Black representation of film and TV, LGBTQ plus representation, female representation in media. Like I love all those types of podcasts. I find it really, really interesting. But no one was talking about fat representation, so that's why I stepped into that void. And I love it. I love it. And the other thing I also love is being someone who exists in social media. I've made a lot of connections throughout that kind of industry. But it's all very like over Instagram. It's all or over email. We've never spoken. And actually the podcast has meant I've now been able to speak to some people that I just admire so much and got to know them, and that's been really good for like my own mental health as I'm quite a sociable person and I love to talk to people, but I work from home 100% of the time. I'm just stuck where, if you're watching this podcast, this is where I am like 99% of the time, just in my loft, in my attic, just with nobody. So that's been really good, is like making these connections around the world with amazing people, like-minded people, and having really fun conversations about film. So that's why we started it. What was the most surprising film to cover? Like, this has been my go-to answer for I think the past maybe 9 to 12 months. It is The World's End. Which is the third installment of the Cornetto trilogy, written by Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg, directed by Edgar Wright, starring Simon Pegg and Nick Frost. The third film, so we have Shaun of the Dead, we have Hot Fuzz, and we have The World's End. And people really don't rate The World's End. And it didn't do as well as the other two. I think people felt let down by it. And I'd only watched it once when it first came out, but I watched it again with our guest Val Pullen, and it was an incredible film, full stop. It's a really, really good film. I totally highly recommend going back to watch it if you've not seen it since it came out. But also, like, it was so fantastic for fat representation because, again, what they did with the Nick Frost character, where in Shaun of the Dead, in Hot Fuzz, he plays this, dumb, slow, lazy, laissez-faire character. And then in The World's End, they really turn that on his head, and he is the leader of the group. He's the protector of the group. He's incredibly fit and athletic. He can like beat these robots down. Like, it's really, really fun to watch. And I was blown away at how positive it was and how it completely subverted my expectations. And it was really fun, a really fun film as well. So that's definitely the most surprising film to cover. So the next question was, which genre have I found to be the most fat friendly and which tends to be the most fat phobic? And this is such a fascinating question. I find this a really hard question to answer because there's good and bad in every genre available. Like we've seen that with the podcast. And I think when I'm looking through my Rolodex in my head, I think the most fat friendly is actually musicals at the moment, just based on what we've covered, is musicals. Because I'm thinking Hairspray. Obviously, there's a central fat character in that. Chicago with Mama Morton is such positive fat representation. We haven't covered The Greatest Showman, but obviously we have the bearded lady character in that, and This Is Me is such a fantastic song which is sang by that character. I watched The Greatest Showman on the plane we went to Iceland back in April for our honeymoon. Now, I don't know if you know this, you are more susceptible to emotion when you're watching films on the plane, and it's something to do with the altitude and the pressure in the cabin. Because I've watched The Greatest Showman a couple of times, but tell me why I'm on this flight and I start bawling my eyes out at the "This Is Me" part. Also, side note, I've already got into the Chicago episode. I read Hugh Jackman for Filth about how I actually don't think he can sing, and The Greatest Showman's another really good example of how that man can't sing. Because tell me why every one of those Greatest Showman songs starts far too low for that man's register. Mad. I'm going to point out as well, I am not a trained singer, but I can hear, you know? I have such beef with Hugh Jackman, and he doesn't even know. It's very one-sided. So I think musicals are relatively positive, but again, only based on what we've covered so far. I also think horror to a certain extent, because I'm such a defender of the horror genre because of how many like subgenres it can cover. Like, you can have a sci-fi horror, you can have a romantic horror, you can have a horror comedy, you can have a horror drama, you can have, it's so versatile in that sense. So I think there's a lot to be said for that versatility. Versatility within horror can lend itself to positive fat representation, but there is also, going back to the very original point, there is also very bad fat representation within horror. I think one of the worst would be drama, because drama tends to use fat people as plot devices for like shame. The Whale like springs to mind right now, or they're seen as lessons to be learned from, and I don't like that. And I also think one of the worst genres for fat representation is like children's / animation, just because I'm thinking like WALL-E. We have not covered WALL-E in the podcast, but it is on the list. I'd love for guests to come on to talk about WALL-E. I kind of mentioned a few at the beginning, like Little Mermaid. Again, that's kind of like up and down. There's good and bad there. But then at the same time, I think Up is quite good for fat representation. With Kevin, is that no Russell? Kevin is the bird. With Russell, his character, like, I think he is kind of mocked a little bit for his size. Again, you can come after him. I've not watched that film in a long time, but I remember not thinking it wasn't the worst. But then I think, like, ultimately, when I scan the horizon of like what is good and what is bad in terms of fat representation within genres, ultimately there just really isn't that much, right? Like there really isn't that much fat representation when you look at like the statistics around human size and weight in your average population. Looking at women, for example, most women are plus size. That is the average. The average is to be plus size. The average dress size in the UK is a size 16 to 18, and your average woman is plus size. And yet the representation does not represent the reality of our population. So, and especially when I come back to where we are in terms of society in looking at a lot of people losing weight, a lot of people kind of turning their back on body positivity and body neutrality, or trying to change the goalposts of what body positivity is. We may still be going through a period of time where we're seeing less and less and less fat people on our screens, which I do not like, funnily enough. Would you believe? So thank you so much for that question. I have no idea whether I answered it. I feel I just rambled. I don't know if what other podcasters do with mailbag episodes. I don't know whether they write a script and then just read off it for you guys to answer the questions, but I'm literally reading the question and then I'm answering off the cuff. So I hope you appreciate the candidness. I appreciate your candor. So next question is, what is your favorite film and what is your Letterboxd top 4? So I have a Letterboxd. It, funnily enough, is under the exact same username, I think. I'm now just checking my phone just to double check that answer because it is Queen Bee Says. I knew it was the same. So if you don't know what Letterboxd is, it is an app to track and review films on. So, for example, me and my husband have been rewatching all of the Star Wars films, and so I've just been logging what date we're watching it and then rating it, and you can give like a little review if you want as well. I really badly, and this actually just shows like the human psyche, I only tend to leave reviews when I really didn't like the film. And it's very similar to like, you don't often leave a review for a restaurant if you had a fantastic time, but you will leave a review if you had a bad time at that restaurant. I'm doing that. That's me right there. So on Letterboxd, you can put on your profile like your top 4 films of all time. And what I really wanted with my top 4 is I wanted them to span genres, just because variety, I wanted to show that I had range. So my top 4 films, I'm going to show the camera again. If you're listening, like you should be listening in a podcast, you can't see this, but if you're watching me, these are my top 4 films. And as you can see, I wrap this top row. As you can see, they actually have a theme, which is the color red, which was unintentional, but I love that I did that by accident. So my number 1 film of all time is Moulin Rouge. I love Moulin Rouge so much. It hurts. It physically hurts me. I went through this period when me and my family moved to Spain back in 2005. We moved to this town called Moraira, and we were renting there until I guess my parents worked out where we wanted to live. And there was like a video DVD rental shop in town, and obviously VHS was well on its way out by this point, but they were selling their VHS like collection for like cents. And so and the house we were renting had a VHS player, so we used to buy loads of tapes. And I remember we had the Moulin Rouge tape, and I would watch it every day after school for like a whole year. And then I watch it very regularly since as an adult. The film actually, most people don't know this, but the film actually is meant to end as the curtain falls after the kind of reprise of Come What May. Nothing actually happens after that. So that's how true fans watch the film. The next film on this list is Jurassic Park. We have covered that on the podcast. Jurassic Park is one of the best films ever made, like hands down. Like there is no argument with that. When I hear people have like top films of all time, and it's like I'm gonna come for the film bros right now, but if it's anything by Nolan, I'm just like, because Jurassic Park is right there. You know what I'm saying? It's a 10 out of 10 flawless film. It's not the best in terms of fat representation. That's a phrase I've said a lot on this podcast, which is it's a 5-star film, but it's like a 0 star for fat representation. I wouldn't call it 0 stars for fat representation, but it's not great. The character of Nedry is not well handled, and it's dripping in fat phobia in that sense, but I still love it. And I know everyone says this about Jurassic Park, but God, it really holds up. They did such a cracking job with the special effects. It's beautiful. Next film, Speed. Speed, for me, is the best action film of all time. It has such a delicious 3-act structure that we just don't really see very often in films. I feel like having such distinct 3 acts is really, really fun. Because you've got like these 3 different set pieces. The score is incredible. I love it so much. Dun 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 dun, boom 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 boom, dun dun. Dun. Oh my God! It's epic. Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock have never been hotter. The bus that couldn't slow down is a fantastic concept for anything. It's a great film. If you haven't watched it recently, please watch Speed. It's fucking awesome. And then my last film, my Letterboxd top 4, is 28 Days Later. Now, we could totally cover 28 Days Later on the podcast because we've got our guy Brendan Gleeson, and I love Brendan Gleeson. I don't think many people don't like him, but we haven't talked about it on the podcast. It is one of my favorite horror films of all time. It's I remember the first time I saw it, it scared the ever living shit out of me. It even now, it holds up. Like, there's scenes of an empty London with Cillian Murphy screaming hello. It's so eerie. The infected are the scariest version of zombies we've seen. And I know people hate the running zombie, but like, it really works in 28 Days Later. It really, really does. Naomi Harris, absolute. Like, Selena is such a badass, like, final girl, but she's so cutthroat and scary herself. Like, you don't want to mess with her, obviously. Chris Eccleston as Major Henry West, I want to say his name is. He's obviously terrifying, and I know all zombie films are like, or all horror films are like, or post-apocalyptic films are like, the real evil's the man. And I understand it's a bit of a trope, but in 20 Days Later, it's handled very, very well, and it's very scary. And In a House in a Heartbeat is one of the best pieces of film score ever written. And I know the BBC have used it to death, right? Like, I remember there was a time the BBC only ever used In a House in a Heartbeat and this song for Interstellar for all of their fucking shit. And I know they've been played to death, but no, not Interstellar. It was Inception. It was the Inception music they kept using. It was so annoying. But In a House in a Heartbeat absolutely slaps. And I'm recording this a few days before I see 28 Years Later. And I know you shouldn't get your hopes up that high because, they're bound to fall, right? But it's too late. They're too high. So we'll see. I really hope it works out. I really hope it's good. Okay, and then last question in this section of questions is, which did you like better? The original Hairspray from 1988 or the musical? Now we've covered the musical version from 2000 and I don't know when it came. 2007? The musical Hairspray. And I'm going to show my ass here. I've never seen the original. I have never seen the original Hairspray. I know it exists. But I just, it's passed me by, so let me know if I need to watch it. I really enjoyed rewatching the musical version for the podcast, because when I was younger, and I remember I spoke about it on the episode, Tracy Turnblad never really spoke to me because I never related to fat characters on the screen when I was younger, because I didn't want to be associated with them, because I didn't want to be fat. And I wish I saw, like, I took something more as a child from Tracy from Hairspray, just because she's such a fantastic fat character. But again, like, you just don't know what you don't know. And now I'm a 33-year-old woman. I really, really, really appreciate Tracy Turnblad, and I really understand why a lot of people really look up to her. And what I don't like though is how like she's like the go-to fat character for a lot of like musical theatre lovers if you're a plus size. And I wish there was just more variety, but that's the fatphobic world we live in. So I appreciate she is the only option, but I hate how she's the only option. So that must be on the list. The original Hairspray is on my list to watch. Now, I'm going to move away from film because I don't know how many of you listening know me from just the podcast, or know me from social media, or know me from both. But if you don't know, I post about plus size fashion and plus size experience, and my experience with my eating disorder, and learning to love myself and like myself and respect myself. I talk about all that on my Instagram and TikTok accounts under Queen Bee Says. And so when I opened the questions up for this episode, I had a few questions relating to that. So I'm going to get into it. So the first question I get, and I get this question so often, which is like, how do I go about plus size dating? And this is where I might lose some of you. And you know what? I totally get it. So when I met my husband, I was at my thinnest. I was following a really, really horrible diet, which caused a lot of health issues. But I was at my thinnest when I met my husband. And over the years, as the health complications took hold of my body and my eating disorder came back, and there was this, honest to God, there was this and the other thing, I gained the weight back and more, right? So now I'm at the largest I've ever been. So when I think about plus size dating, like, I don't know if I'm an authoritative voice in plus size dating because I didn't do it with my husband. But before I lost the weight, when I was still at uni, I did try dating as a plus size person, and I struggled. But what I would say, I was also like 20, and obviously like that meant I was trying to date 20-year-old men. I think the biggest barrier to dating as a plus size person, and you guys will tell me if I'm talking shit, if you think I'm talking shit, but a lot of women do find plus size people attractive, right? It's the society doesn't believe that we're attractive. And the thing is, if the person you're trying to date is not willing to face that potential criticism by society, by their peers, by their friends, by their family for finding a plus size person attractive, then they're not going to be wanting to date you. When me and my husband, we'd been together for a good few years at this point, maybe like 3 or 4, and we'd moved in together, and he had this friend who you will soon understand we are no longer friends with, because he started dating this woman. And he was saying to my husband, like, he didn't even really like this woman, that he thought her shoulders were too broad and that she dressed really frumpy. Now, I Facebook stalked this woman. She was a plus size woman. That's what he meant when he said broad shoulders. Anyway, some time goes by and he rings Graham, and Graham used to always answer his phone on speakerphone. I don't know why. But anyway, so I'm in the room as well. And, his friend rings and he's like, "Oh yeah, mate, I just wanted to ask a question." And Graham was like, "Yeah, sure, what?" And he's like, "Oh, it's just how did you let your parents know that Hannah was fat?" And Graham had to be like, "What the fuck, mate? Like, first of all, you're on speakerphone and Hannah heard all that. And secondly, what?" And basically his friend was trying to work out how Graham warned his parents that I was a larger person, because he felt he would have to do the same for this new woman he was dating. And my biggest thing is like, if you're so scared about telling your parents that your person you're dating is fat, or I don't know, any other kind of intersectionality there, any other kind of marginalization that someone may judge someone for because they're small-minded and bigoted, then the problem isn't the person you're dating. The problem is your family. Deal with them. Don't bring in, the person you're dating into this, the person you love into this. I remember like being really upset by that, because I was like, I'm not something to be warned of. You know what I mean? loving, nice person. Like, his parents didn't need a warning that he just so happened to love a fat woman. And it just really hurts. So I think, what am I trying to say? I feel like I've rambled and I apologize. First of all, you're worthy of this. You are worthy of finding a partner that loves you fully. All of it. Doesn't want you to change. But it also is willing, unfortunately, I wish they didn't have to do this, but this is the reality of where we're in, who is also willing to be your ally, who is willing to stand up for you, who is willing to, when people question, why are you with that person? Why, like, that person's fat, blah, blah, blah. Oh, really, that person? Oh, like, are you settling? All that kind of stuff. Because that's what unfortunately happens, because we have been bred, because of the media representation, right? We have been led to believe that people cannot find fat people attractive. So when someone does, because they fucking do, right? This is the actual truth of the situation. People do find fat people attractive, but they don't come forward with it because of the ridicule they'll get from other people. So you need to find a partner who doesn't give a fuck what other people think, who will stand up for you, who will be your ally, and who loves you, who finds you hot, sexy, attractive, all of you. All of it, all of you. Blah. Keep those standards high. Like, don't fucking settle. Don't you dare settle for less than. I don't even know if that was good. This is maybe the problem of answering these questions off the cuff, because I don't know if what I'm saying is actually decent. But anyway, let's move. 2, where do I shop? This is such a good question, because it's rough, man. I've been posting videos on my socials about just how bad, from a data point of view, how bad plus size fashion's got in terms of our options available to us. If you go into ASOS at the moment, there's like a wedding dress section, and there's something like 7,000 options for straight sizes, and then like 600 for plus size, and it means it's like, I don't know, like 1% or 6% or something of the collection is available to plus sizes. And going back to what I said earlier, your average woman in the UK is plus size. The majority of women are plus size, therefore why isn't the majority of clothing offered available not plus size? The representation is not accurate. So where am I shopping at the moment? So I've always shopped at ASOS, but I do recognise the standard of what's available has gone down. I shop at Lucy and Yak. I tend to get a lot of my jeans from there. I'm not the biggest fan of the dungarees and jumpsuits, because I don't think they fit plus size bodies good. That was really bad English. I don't think they fit plus size bodies well, but I think they're separate. So their tops, their fleeces, their skirts, their jeans, their trousers are decent. Definitely give them a go. They are a bit pricier. I think Lazy Oaf is really, really fun for a bit more like kind of street style, but they allegedly only go up to a size 24. But some of their sizing, or some of their designs, some of the cuts are really forgiving in terms of sizing. So I can sometimes get away with some of what they offer, but not all. Never Fully Dressed has become a really good favourite of mine. Really, really gorgeous, stylish outfits. And they got to a size 28. And go to a good size 28. I've got a few pieces, again, pricey. They are pricey, but a really, really good shop. Really like holiday vibes, maybe a evening wear or like party wear, but they do have some really nice t-shirts as well, so that's definitely worth a look. Simply Be is mainstream, but a bit mum. So a few independent labels I really like. So House of Dahlia, hers are like all made to measure, and it's all like corsets and very of a time. I when I wrote this down, I put like Bridgerton vibes, and I hope she wouldn't mind me calling it that, but I have a corset from her. She's putting out this line this summer, and it's like tartan inspired, and obviously being Scottish, I'm immediately drawn to tartan like a moth to a flame. And I saw it and I was like, oh my god, I need it. She has this tartan skirt that she's got coming out, it looks absolutely stunning. Definitely give her a look. Hello Boyko, Boyko. They're an LA-based shop or design label, what I'm trying to say. Really fun, I'm going to call it clown chic dresses, really oversized sleeves, quite short, but like sexy short, big bows, really bright colours, I absolutely adore. The Marcon Court project, they are London based, very everyday feminine fashion. I've got a few things from her now. I have this yellow striped wrap dress. I've literally just ordered a pink version of that wrap dress because I love it. I also have a shirt from her, really big blousey collars, very light material, very breathable, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Oh, and then I have to give a shout out to my Sheffield-based independent brand, New NYOO. Very earth-toned colours, linens. You can get cords, you can get dresses, you can get really nice floaty tops. I have a jacket from there. Really, really good. All handmade by Lucy in Sheffield. Give them a check. Also, if none of them take your fancy, always look on Vinted. Vinted it can be hard. It can be hard to find what you're looking for, but you can find some really, really good gems on there. So the next question, how do I get fashion inspiration? This is a great question. Other people. So you need to, this is as good advice anyway, but you need to curate your social media feeds to get what you need out of it. So stop following the Kardashians, for example. Start following people that look like you. Start following people that you like how they dress, and that will be a really good start. I love Pinterest for inspiration, and you go on there and you type in like denim skirt, and you'll get all these different ideas for denim skirt. But what I would say is that they are always for thin people, they're always for straight sizes. So what you kind of need to start doing is learning what looks good on your body. Like, oh, I love the way a wrap dress looks good on me, or could I also get a wrap blouse? So you can look on Pinterest to get like ideas of what kind of clothing could look good together, but then you also need to take into account how that may look on a body like yours. And in order to understand what could look good on a body like yours, is that you need to get to know your body. Now, this is a scary bit because we have been brought up to not like our bodies. We have been brought up to see flaws. We've been brought up to want to change them. And I mean, it's so annoying. Like, I know that's probably like too less of a word, but it really is so annoying that we then have to do all this work to unlearn it just to live our lives the way we want them. And it fucks me off because it's just such a waste of fucking time and energy. Like, if we came into this world with a lot more fucking confidence and we were encouraged to like ourselves, because that's the other thing. If you do like yourself, people think you're self-centered. People think that you're conceited. People think, why are you so full of yourself? Why shouldn't you be? Why should you not be full of yourself? Like, what harm in being full of yourself? If I'm not going to be full of myself, then who the fuck will be? Right? I have never claimed to be humble because I truly think it brings women specifically down. It's to bring us down a level. It's to undermine what we're saying. It's to undermine our authority. The best way to find your style is experimentation and getting to know yourself. Looking at yourself in the mirror and starting to really observe your curves and your swerves. Do you have a bigger top half to a bottom half? Okay, cool. Do I want to balance that? Do I want to lean into quote unquote flattering? And I don't like that word, but like, let's also kind of try and reclaim it because that's a thing. Like, some people want to look more balanced, for example. So you want to exaggerate. If you've got a bigger top half, you want to exaggerate your bottom half so they balance out. Or do you want to lean into it? Do you want to lean into it? Do you want to actually like, fucking, let's exaggerate these shoulders even more? Right? Let's show these boobs. Let's get them out. Let's get the cleavage out. Right? Let's show this really narrow waist and these massive hips. Let's lean into it. But the only way you're going to work out whether you want to do that is by looking at yourself in the mirror and start playing around and experimenting. Personal style is not something you're born with. It's a skill that you hone. I'm honing it every day. I look at the fashion videos I was putting out when I first started this back at like only a couple years ago, compared to now, and my fashion has changed so much because I've got more confident, right? I've learned how to dress myself. I've learned what I like about myself, but that's only through trial and error. You're not going to get it right every time, and that's okay. Fashion should be fun. Fashion should be expression. Fashion should be creative. But fashion isn't 100% right 100% of the time. Otherwise, that would be boring. Imagine if you're perfect from the get off. Like, get out. Nah. Also, you're not going to please everybody. Please yourself. Focus on pleasing yourself. If you like the way you look, that's all that actually matters, babe. That's actually all that matters. So you find your fashion inspo from people that look like you, people have the same shapes that you do, people that have the style that you'd like to lean into. Pinterest is also really, really good. But the number one tip I can give you is get in front of the mirror and start dressing how you want to dress. Start playing around with it. Experiment. Give yourself the freedom to experiment and give yourself permission to look at yourself, not with disdain, not with, oh, I wish that wasn't as saggy, oh, I wish that didn't wobble as much. None of that shit. Just look at yourself as the body that you are and ask yourself, how do I want to present my body to the world? And go from there. And that leads really interestingly into how do you reach body neutrality? So body neutrality, again, if you don't know, if you're not versed in this, because it's definitely not as loud as body positivity. Body positivity is fucking everywhere, isn't it? Bopo, bopo, bopo. Body neutrality is the next step, which, because body positivity is like, you have to love yourself, unconditional love. I love myself at every size, and that's all great. That's really, really good place to be, but that might not necessarily be achievable straight off the bat, especially if you're trying to unlearn all the fat phobia, all the diet culture, all the self-hate, the taught self-hate. If you're trying to unlearn all of that, jumping from I hate myself to I love myself is a bit of a leap, right? So body neutrality is a really good kind of like milestone to aim for, because instead of looking in the mirror and going, I love myself, it's, there's my body. There's my body. I feel neutral about my body. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. Now, I got to body neutrality. Now, I would feel like I'm beyond body neutrality in the sense that I really do love my body. But body neutrality is really, really, really important, especially when it comes to other people's opinions on your body, because it's going to just, it doesn't matter what you think about my body, because my body's my body. Only my opinion matters on my body, and I feel neutral about it. Like, it's our house, it's our vessel. It's really important that we don't hate it. So let's learn to just be like, hey, my body exists, my body moves me through the world. If my body wasn't here, then I truly could not exist. I could not experience what life has to offer unless my body was here. So therefore, I'm thankful it exists, but it goes no further at this point. The best way I can recommend you getting to that place is you have to start reframing your beliefs. You have to start questioning, well, why do I believe that? A good example is, if I do not stick to this diet, then I am a loser and I deserve all the bad things that come towards me, right? That would be one of my beliefs. I reframed that to say, this diet is designed to fail. It is not my fault when it does. It does not make me a lesser person, right? Now, just saying it, just writing it down doesn't make it a belief, but constantly saying it, constantly reaffirming that belief. So when I would have that first thought of going, I'm a failure, I'm a loser, I deserve all of this, I would then have to consciously step in and be like, Hannah, no, remember, the diet industry literally have designed this diet so it does fail. So I feel shit about myself, so I go back and do the next diet and give them more money. Don't let them have that power. This new belief is that it's not my fault. I am not a loser. It does not change my self-worth. With the weight, coming back to body neutrality, my belief would have been, while I am this weight, I do not deserve the good things in my life. I do not deserve success. I do not deserve love. I do not deserve respect at this weight. The reframed belief then becomes, I deserve love, respect, and happiness regardless of size. Weight is not an intrinsic factor into determining one's self-worth. Now again, it's not going to happen overnight. It's something you have to keep telling yourself until it becomes that initial belief. But that is the first step to changing how you view yourself, is by changing your belief system. Body neutrality is so possible, and it's really freeing. Oh my god, it's so freeing to be like, especially when you look back, you go, God, I used to like have all these really intense feelings that ate me up inside. It consumed all of my energy, all of my waking thoughts all the time, to, hey, I feel alright about this now. Like, I just feel, not necessarily good, but just meh. It doesn't change your emotions. It's not going to determine whether you have a good or bad day. Like, that's really powerful. Really, really powerful, to take that power away from this really vicious, insidious thing that we have been ingrained to have from a very early age, right? So I really, 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 really hope whoever is hearing this and needs to get there, I really hope you get there. I could have ordered these questions better, because it just feels a little bit flippant. Underwear. Where do I get my underwear from? Right, underwear. I get my underwear from Simply Be and Calvin Klein and Snag Tights. So Simply Be have some really good cheap bras. I don't wear underwires in my bras because I'm not insane. My boobs are big and saggy. So what? So what? Let's not try to kid a kidder here, Let them sag. I mean, who's got the energy? I haven't got the time to be stabbed with an underwire and like be uncomfortable. Like, fuck it. And I also get some underwear from ASOS. It's not the greatest place, I find. I find some of their sizing really bad in like the knickers, for example. Snag Tights, their bra is really, really good, but their knickers, so there's like different levels of high-waistedness you can get in their knickers. Really, really good. Totally recommend. I've got a few. So I've got like, they've got like some hipster ones, and they've got like some like mid-high waist ones, and then they've got like ones that go like all the way up to my bra. That's how high-waisted they are. Amazing. And also the chub rub shorts. I've said it before, I'll say it again. Snag chub rub shorts are the absolute bee's knees when it comes to thigh chafe prevention. Totally recommend. And then what was the other one I said? Oh, Calvin Klein. I really like Calvin Klein's bras. Their underwear I don't think is as good as it was, but their bras are really, really good. A bit pricey. They're like £35 each. So I guess only if you want to like splurge. But they're just like really simple, like t-shirt bras. Ever considered designing, making your clothes? Of course I have. Like, oh my god, I have so many ideas. I have so many ideas of what I want in my wardrobe that doesn't exist in the real world. I really am working towards this opportunity as well, because I have booked on to a trouser making course sometime in July, where I'm going to make my own trousers. I've got to find the material. I know exactly what the kind of material I want as well. I'm going to make my own trousers, and I thought, because once I've learned how to make them, I can make more trousers. And I'm so excited. This genuinely is something I really want to, like, I want to learn how to make my own clothes. I also need to learn how to like sketch them out, because I have ideas in here, but I don't know how to get them out on paper. So I need to work out that too. But this is something I would absolutely love to do. I would love to design my own range of clothes, because oh my god, it would be so good. I know I'm biased because I'm me, but it would be so good. It would be so good. You would love it. So yes, that is something I think about a lot, and I'm genuinely making steps forward to try to make it some sort of a reality, but we'll see. And then last question I have, it's actually quite a downer question, but it's very, very important. So let's get into it. So advice on dealing with harassment in public / aftercare. I want to just point out, I fucking hate how we have to ask this question. So when I read it, I thought, oh, that sucks. But this is the reality. Right, this is the reality of existing in a larger body. Is some people are so emboldened, and social media is definitely responsible for this, or partly responsible for this, people are so emboldened not to just harass you on social media. You can get harassed in fucking public spaces now. Like, what the actual fuck? I mean, I say now, it's been happening forever, but it sucks. It sucks. I have been, unfortunately, I'm harassed in public. I've been heckled at. I've been shouted at from fans. I have been made to feel like utter shit on planes. Being harassed in public. Oh, I had kids film me the other day. That, in the moment, I am not great, I have to say. I freeze. Because I'm more like shocked that is happening. Because in social media, like, it's not instant. The comment can happen, but I could leave the comment. I can come back to the comment. I can block the comment. I can do things to prevent it from really affecting my day. But when it happens in real life, it is a lot more jarring because it's instant, it's instantaneous. They're going to say the thing, they're going to do the thing, and it immediately impacts you. And there's no buffering. So I tend to freeze. I tend to like just keep walking. I ignore it, blah, 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 blah. So I am not going, I don't think, if this is not the advice you're looking for, I'm so sorry. I would love to be able to say, I just tell them to shut the fuck up. And I have done that before, right? I have done that before. But it's not my go-to reaction. I don't want to cause a scene, you know? I just want to, like, go to the fucking Tesco. I want to, like, you know, go to the post office. I want to go to the, like, I just want to move to the world. This is really dark. I once had, because I had my hair green during COVID, I was walking to, I think, the little Tesco, and this father and son, it was in the summer, father, he was holding his son's hand, and the son could have only been maybe 4 or 5, like young. And this father points at me from across the road. I starts laughing and just going, green hair, in like a Sheffield accent, which I'm not going to do on this podcast. Green hair. And like, I was like, what is happening? Like, it was so jarring because it was like a child. Like, I would have given a lot more pass if a child would do that to me. Like, I give children a lot of passes. I've accidentally ran into a child in the bathroom with their mum. Like, we both came in, like, I was leaving, they were coming in at the same time, and like kind of bashed into the door. And this little girl went, "Oh, she's a big lady," and it really made me laugh. And the mum was like, "Don't say that." And I was like, "No." To be fair to this little girl, you know, I was much taller than her. I was wearing this really exaggerative sleeved dress. Like, I looked bigger than I actually am. Like, I was leaning, going back to what I was saying about where do I get my fashion inspo, like leaning into like my features and leaning into the broadness. And so this little girl goes, "Oh, it's a big lady." She didn't mean it in a mean way. She didn't mean it in a disrespectful way. She just saw what she saw, and I was a big lady to her. And it really made me laugh. So I give children a pass. But this adult, this father, with his son, it starts mocking me from across the road. And I don't even know what I said. I don't think I did say anything. I think I just kind of looked at him as if to say, huh? And just kept walking. Because I couldn't quite believe it was happening. So in the moment, I'm not great. The woman who fat shamed me on the plane, I completely went into myself. I was so embarrassed. I was humiliated. I felt terrible. And I was only 2 months post binge eating recovery, like therapy being finished. And I remember thinking, like, this is going to like derail all of that work. It didn't, because I have a really good support system, and that's the aftercare. The aftercare is who you can lean on around you, who you can tell, who you can talk to about it, who are your allies, who's going to understand what you've just gone through, and who's going to reaffirm to you, because you're gonna do it yourself, right? You're gonna reaffirm to yourself, this wasn't my fault. They're small-minded people. They're arseholes. They're cunts, right? You say that to yourself, but you need other people to validate that as well. So you need to make sure your support system has your back, right? When I got off that plane, when that awful woman, she was dressed head to toe in green, I called her bogey. Oh, it was awful. When I got off the plane and I walked down and I rang Graham, who would have been my fiance at the time. Yeah, fiance at the time. And I was crying my eyes out, because I was in London, he was in Sheffield. I think I'd flown Glasgow to London. And I was telling him, and I was just telling her how like humiliated I was, and like, oh, I shouldn't be this size, and it's my. I think it's saying like, if only I was thinner, if only I'd lost weight, if only. And he was like, but that's not your reality. The reality is, you bought that seat, you had every entitlement to sit there, and also like it's a 45, not even that, it's like 45 minute flight. Like, it's fine. No one's comfortable on planes anyway, right? I had every right to be there. I'm allowed to exist. I'm allowed to live my life. I'm allowed to live my life in the same way she's allowed to live her life. And the thing is, that woman, she had every room. I gave her all the armrests. She was snuggled up to her husband, who didn't say fucking anything, by the way, because I bet he was fucking embarrassed by his fucking bogey wife. I have definitely put a few curses on that woman. I have not let that go. I am not the bigger person here. I have not let that go. Actually, I am the bigger person, like, quite physically. The bigger person. But, you know, he was saying, like, you know, don't let her and her narrow-mindedness and her rudeness and her clearly her attitude towards herself, her lack of self-worth, derail my progress. And I didn't. I spoke to my therapist. She just said the same thing. I got to my friend's house. He said the same thing. I had such a good support network that all reaffirmed and validated that I'm allowed to exist as I am. When the green hair thing happened, I rang my husband. I told my friends, and they were like, "What the fuck? He's the weirdo. I am not the weirdo for existing, just as I am. He's the weirdo for mocking me for existing." And that's how I get through the harassment. Like, I don't think I could do the social media thing without having that support network of friends, of allies, of family that loves me for me and doesn't want me to change, because they know that the reason why I am the way I am, the reason why I am successful in this field, is because I bring myself to it every single time and I'm authentic with it. If I was to then change myself to placate others, I would lose that. I wouldn't be as successful. And that's how I get through it. I hope that helps, because unfortunately, you cannot control what other people will do to you, right? You can't. And I wish you could. I wish there were consequences to what they were doing. But right now there aren't. So, and this is... and my friends over at Fat Liberation London say this: you can't self-love yourself out of oppression, right? So when we face it, when we face the real impact of that, me telling you to love yourself and just have confidence isn't going to make it better. It's not going to resolve the systemic problem we have here. But when you have those moments when you are harassed, either on public transport, in the workplace, how you can help yourself get through it is by having a really strong support system around you, and then taking action when you can. If you're being bullied in the workplace for being fat, fucking get on it. Protect yourself. HR, I know HR shit, but you get that paper trail going. If you're harassed on a plane, like, tell the air hostess, ask to move. Advocate for yourself. Make sure you can advocate for yourself, but you can also have a support system and allies that will also advocate for you. I have no idea whether that was good or not. And that's the end of the questions I have. Thank you so much for everyone who contributed to the mailbag, and I apologize again for not having all of your names. I'm a terrible content creator / podcaster, so I hope you guys don't mind. I also apologize if I'm going to listen to this while I edit it, and I'm going to be like, what a load of shite she just spoke about. But I do hope what I did say was helpful. Thank you so much for sticking by and supporting the first 50 episodes. Here's to another 50. And before I go, I just wanted to ask, if I was to start a film club in Sheffield, would people be interested? I don't know how many of my listeners are Sheffield based or Yorkshire based, but let me know. Okay, I'm gonna go now. The next episode will be in 2 weeks. Also, let me know if there's any guests that you think would be good on this podcast, because I don't know everyone. You know what I mean? I can't know everyone, so let me know. I love you all so much. You can follow me at Queen Bee Says on Instagram and TikTok for like my fashion stuff, and you can obviously follow the podcast at Fats on Film on Instagram. I love you. Thank you for your support. As always, I genuinely would not be here if you guys didn't support. So thank you so much. And I will speak to you all so soon. And remember to stay fat. Woo!